You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. This episode is a 2-hour journey into 4 songs. Who Will Help Me Bake This Bread, A People's History of the World, Fixed Frequencies, and Tartuffe. The guest on this episode is Josh Kemble. Josh is a busy and productive guy. He is the executive chef of Harvest Kitchen. He is the host of a great podcast called The Family Cast, where he pairs music, food, and beverages with great guests like past guests of this podcast, John Paul Peters from Private Ear Recording in Winnipeg, and actor Ryan O'Nan. Josh also sings for the bands St. Didicus, and Dogwood. Josh and I have been meaning to hang out for a long time on this podcast. He and his pal Eric Epps recently made a cover of Nation States for the episode 77, but it's a thrill to have him join me for this 4-song episode discussion. You'll see a consistent theme come out throughout the episode, which I think you'll really enjoy. Josh is on Instagram at JoshKem, at The Family Cast, at Harvest_Kitchen, and at St. Didicus. Thanks to Josh Kemble. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Josh Kemble, welcome to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda.
Thank you. We're stoked to be here.
Very stoked to have you. It's been a long time coming, Josh. You've been among the most patient people imaginable with my multiple reschedules with you. So I just want to state for the record for all listeners out there that you have been extraordinarily gracious and patient with me. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm curious if you can sort of introduce your story here to the audience. Cause you came on my radar quite a number of years ago, through your music, but I'm wondering if you can just sort of trace the listeners through your kind of musical story and however you see fit, like an annotated version.
Okay. I'll try to truncate it a little bit because it was such a long time ago and it's still going and it's long. So I think growing up, kind of a musical loving family, not everyone played instruments and stuff, but there was always a strong record collection and a concert going collection and stuff like that. So and most members of my family, including my mother, and she was a rock and roller. She wasn't in a band, nice, like I said, but she took me and my aunt took me when she was babysitting, maybe illegally to concerts backstage and stuff like that, at a young age. So it was always in the blood. Records spinning, records all over the house, and my mom's was more on the rock and roll kind of, heavier rock side during the 70s, coming out of hippie revival stuff, moving into like metal stuff, early metal, I would say like Kiss and that kind of stuff, but not like, today's standards of death metal or anything, but and then my aunt was lowrider, cholo, kind of oldies music, and my uncle's was more like pop, Prince, and anything that was on movie soundtracks.
Wide variety of sounds.
They all had their own personalities and agendas with music, and then the Mexican side of my family was always music from Mexico and stuff. So, or Elvis and opera, stuff like that for some reason. So yeah, always around. And so I'll go through my life, end high school, finish high school, then join Dogwood. They asked me to join Dogwood, be the singer, because I was wild and wacky and I was writing a lot of poetry. Yeah. And I had no singing musical experience aside from singing at open house. I sang An American Tale from Fievel Goes West, I think, or something like that. I sang one of the songs. Stupid, so bad, in 6th grade. And then I joined the band, and I was just trying to write all the stuff I was feeling growing up in a sort of a Caucasian mixed family. You know, my mom's family was Mexican. My stepdad's family was definitely on the white side of things. And he started taking our family to like a Calvary Chapel, non-denominational kind of Christian evangelical church, you know, like seeker friendly, you know, heaven and hell, black and white kind of thinking in the church arena. And but Calvary Chapel was founded on like ex-hippies who had this revelation on the beach about becoming Christians. And so everyone's welcome until we find out the truth. And then, you know, some are welcome, some are not.
Right.
But everyone's welcome to be saved. And, you know, then we can work through whatever. But so anyways, there's a lot of music in the church. And so there's a lot of concerts being put on, quote unquote, secular and Christian at the same time sometimes. And I always thought that was cool. And then that got my eyes open to concerts and going to more concerts. And so as I was discovering my love of music, I got into like a lot of hip hop and rap because there was a lot of good rhyming and poetry in that. And then that moved more into the heavier stuff once Ice-T started doing like Body Count or of course Run DMC and Aerosmith. You know, literally in the video, they're literally breaking down walls between the music genres, right, in the video. And I was like, yes, that's really cool. Public Enemy and Anthrax. So all these things, I was like, dude, that's cool. And this was before anyone said like rap rock or the N word, new metal.
Right.
So I was getting into that. But then I found metal and through all that, through because I mean, I wouldn't say I owe it to Ice-T, but like I was watching a lot of MTV raps and yeah, I guess that's one of the things. So it went from like heavy rock in my mom's record collection to kind of mellow, kind of Christians acoustic kind of stuff. And then it's like boring. Let's find something with high energy for my ADD. Sure. And boom, here comes some metal. And to be honest, in California, there was a burgeoning kind of churchy kind of metal scene. Not a lot of punk rock, I would say, that I knew about, but I really got into it with the snowboarding and surfing scene. Because the soundtrack is my music is Propaganda and Good Riddance and Bad Religion and stuff like that. And then, whoa, what are they saying? I love these lyrics. So it kind of went from like the energy to the love of it to actually understanding what they're saying and getting a thesaurus and learning what they're saying and they're just saying something totally different about, I guess, maybe not different, but the church isn't saying these things to me that I have questions about. And they're telling me maybe an antithesis to that. Let me find the in between, or let me see who's right. You know,
I love it. Well, so did you grow up born and raised in San Diego? Have you been there your whole life?
I was actually born in Missouri.
What? So was I.
Hi. I'm
from St. Louis.
I was born in Fort Leonard Wood Army Hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. So kind of middle of nowhere. My dad was my real dad was in the Army, and then we moved around from there, and then my parents split up. So I never really was in my real dad's life. And then, so I was single with my mom, if you will, for a while until the stepdad came along. And then that's when we started going into the church families and stuff, you know, into the family of Calvary Chapel stuff. And so there was a time when it was just my mom and I, and then raised by the whole Mexican side of my family, because I didn't really know his side. And then, yeah, it went from there. But yeah, Missouri for just a little bit. I don't remember it that much. Yeah.
And then when did you get to San Diego?
San Diego was, I mean, maybe like 3 or 4 years old.
Okay. So you've been there, like for all intents and purposes, you are from San Diego, and now all of your formative years were basically in San Diego and around that context, right?
It's really all I know. Yeah. So overall, I would say it's a pretty conservative county. There's like a lot of liberal leanings, and I mean, not that there's only two ways to look at it, but it's a military town.
Gotcha.
You know? So you know, Top Gun and Navy bases and all that kind of stuff are here. And so if you're a hippie or outsider, it's maybe you look at it different. That's why there's such a good underground scene here, I think, like for the burgeoning punk and hardcore scenes in San Diego. There's books about it. It was a violent time because a lot of military children or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was here. And, you know, we're like always the ugly stepchild of OC in LA and stuff like that in the music market.
Gotcha.
But here we are.
Well, San Diego came up on this podcast somewhat recently in a way that is connected to your life as well. Ryan Onan, the actor from Queen of the South and many other things, was on the podcast to talk about his his extreme love of Propaganda.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
anybody who listened to that episode knows that Ryan feels this in his bones intensely.
Yes.
And so it was really cool to have Ryan on the show and to talk and to hear his stories about growing up playing music in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And then he pops up on your podcast, the Family Cast, as well, where you two got to go in sort of like a deep dive on that. And I'm wondering if you can just like, explain that connection of you and him and that like San Diego context a little bit for the listeners. And like, just to remind people, like that Ryan Onan episode was like so awesome because it kind of inspired me for what you and I are going to be doing on this episode. So I'm just wondering if you can tell me a little bit of stories about you and Ryan.
Okay. Yeah. So Ryan, he's a couple years younger than I am. So we had Dogwood had been playing. That's the band I was in. Dogwood. We had been playing for a while in San Diego County, playing a bunch of shows. And then Ryan's, how do I put it? His neighbor, one of his neighbors was one of my best friends who was in a band that helped us get shows and play around. So, Ryan would always go to the shows with this crew, the North San Diego County crew. So there's a bunch of people from within a bunch of, maybe 4 or 5 year age range. And then out of that crew, everyone started bands, maybe some different sounding bands, but Ryan's band in particular we fit really well together. His band was called Against the Wall, and they had a good riddance propaganda kind of vibe, which I loved because I was going for that same vibe with myself. Like I wasn't as smart or as dictationally adept as Greg Graffin, but I was goofy enough to be maybe at the time sounding like a snotty propaganda, and maybe I could get the surf sound of Black Flag and Good Riddance all mashed into one. So I was finding myself in music, and I think Ryan found himself sometimes through our music, and then through his band as they gained popularity. We would play more shows together, and I don't know if you heard our episode, but he said he had some really great conversations with some churched people, if you will, like people who are open-minded about people who have different beliefs. And one thing that drives somebody crazy with the coming from the church scene or who has questions is when you don't get answers or you get the cold shoulder, like you're not allowed to ask that question, or you're not allowed to talk like that, or wow, you're not saying the right thing about Christianity. So with my music, I was always kind of pushing those buttons and ruffling feathers and honestly getting in trouble for being the way that I was in the church. Not rebellious per se, but more like I would just like some questions answered. And there's some questions that can't be answered, obviously, because as you know, from your other podcasts, like we don't have the answers to like why humans have these religions or whatever. We're searching for something. Yeah. But there's things that can be good about it. And some people have an experience like Ryan's, unfortunately, it sounds like, or even to be honest, many people coming from kids from the church scene don't get the right answers or don't get the right maybe upbringing within that realm, that it causes people to go away. And I could see why, even for myself, it was like, wow, this sucks. I don't want to be here at all. Like this is why am I doing this? This is hard. I don't like this. I'm just going to go over here and, follow propaganda around the world or whatever the case may be, Nice. Because they're saying something good too.
Totally. Yeah. So I think this has got kind of like an interesting segue, right? So let's explain a little bit what we're going to do here on this episode. So Ryan kind of reframed the way that I think about some of the podcasts a little bit, because, Keith and I have mixed up the structure and the format of the show a little bit in recent months for, personal life reasons. And Ryan sent me a list of songs that he wanted to talk about. And I was like, what if we just talk about all four? So I really enjoyed that episode. And then, so I wanted to do the same thing with you. So the songs that you picked were Who Will Help Me Bake This Bread, People's History of the World, Fixed Frequencies, and Tartuffe. And I think that based on what you were just saying about, asking questions and not getting specific answers, I feel like this is a really good segue into our first song. So you want to go ahead? Should we start talking about some music here?
Yeah, that's great. I think that, and especially if we go in chronological order, it can really tell the story of kind of how and why I love them to still. And for the record, I say propaganda and propaganda both, whatever mood I'm in, because awesome. I love it. They both have really cool sounding meanings to me.
They do. One is like I love the play on propaganda.
Yeah.
And then I also love the emphasizing on the Gandhi. So like I totally get it. And I kind of switch back and forth as well. So let's go chronologically through these songs that you picked. And we'll start with your How to Clean Everything selection. Who Will Help Me Bake This Bread? And there's a few ways that we can go through this. We can talk about the music first, and then we can talk about the lyrics. Does that sound like a good approach for you? So we can talk a little bit about the jamming, and then we can talk a little bit about the lessons.
Yeah, that's fine.
So let's talk about the music first.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your standout thoughts on the musical composition and performance of this song. And you can take this however you want. You can break down specific instruments, certain sections or moments of the song, anything that you think is interesting to you about Who Will Help Me Bake This Bread.
Okay. So going into like I said, I learned about them from the Fat comps, but then hearing that Fat Mike's it was his favorite release on the label, How to Clean Everything. I was like, oh shit, I got to check this out, because at the time I didn't have a record player and we were going on tour a lot. I was just getting CDs and cassettes and stuff like that. So I had to find a way to get it, and then I got it in the mail from their Fat catalog or local record store or whatever. So I used to, and for some reason I wasn't very good at collecting back then. I would just buy something and maybe lose it on the road. So I had multiple times I've supported, the labels by buying multiple copies of
I've been there.
So hearing the music's like just even some other songs in the album, it's like, how are they playing these songs? Like they're playing like off time intros, like, I'll just stay on this song, for example. So my ADD is not kicking in too hard yet. Who Will Help Me Bake This Bread? Like just the way he like kind of, I could picture like if the guitar was an animated object, it'd be like dancing and it would kind of back off. Its shoulders would kind of when it does that part before he says any words. And then it's not too, I wouldn't even call it barely an intro. He just plays a couple of things and then it just starts. The whole thing just starts, right? And if I'm correct on the structure on the record, it's like there's not much between each song. There's like, it's just a song, boom, next song starts, rips in, and I really like the way structurally this song, if you look at all their songs, they're kind of almost a lot of them are kind of built on this template right here from this song. Opening ripper, really good, really cool, thoughtful words. Sometimes more questions than answers in the lyrics. I mean, I'm sorry to get into lyrics already, but like it goes with, sometimes the music is to me another person in the band. The music,
I agree.
Itself, like capital M music, like as a music as a whole, as a person, as a spiritual being, is in this. So it's starting with, so it's getting it's just the music is grabbing your ear, like by the, or scruff of your neck kind of thing, like the music is the mother right here, and it's grabbing your scruff, saying, "Check this out, listen to this," like I don't know, like. There's another song on the record. He starts with it's a very mellow beat, and he's saying "Spoken minds too clearly," like that. It's like very chill, and then it goes in. But this one's not. And this one really, excuse me, this one really catches me for that reason. This one is not chill, because they get to that in other songs, and they do that. And he had a specific point on this song, and to do so. And going through the music, the last part I guess I could say about the music is every single person that played on this track, the musicianship on this track is it's just fun, and it's angry sounding the way they're playing. It sounds like he's like beating up his guitar a little bit, like when he does that thing that I keep saying, he's like punching all the strings at the same time with his somehow with his pick or something. Like, I don't know, I can't really describe it because I'm not a guitar player, but it sounds to me like that he's making it speak to me, baby.
Well, so let's get into these lyrics too, because I think this is really the core of what connects to you about this song. And, you've mentioned sort of growing up around the church and being a curious person in an environment that might not always welcome and value that quite as much.
Really? Yeah.
Maybe saying they do to get people to change the topic or get people to change the subject, like pretending to be open-minded, but then maybe not authentically meaning that. Mm-hmm. So we have these lyrics, and something that you said earlier, I speak my mind, I question theirs. Mm-hmm. And that is like sort of like the thesis, the overall meaning behind what you were saying earlier about some of your younger years being surrounded in certain communities. And so I am really curious on your take on the lines, the message, things this song reminds you of in your life. Any stories that spring to mind? I'm just curious about the connection of who will help me bake this bread to your story.
Oh, so many. I could talk for the rest of my life about this one song in particular.
I believe
it. I mean, obviously opening with that line, I speak my mind, I question theirs. That could be like a tattoo across my chest.
Yeah.
That could be on my tombstone. And I didn't know it at the time, actually, but I heard it and I was like, oh, I really like this, and then I'm listening to it. And a little background on after my stepfather left when my parents got divorced, in high school. We were poor. My mom basically opened a daycare out of our house so that for some more income. We were on welfare and food stamps for a little bit. And it was in an apartment complex. So there was kind of like a family aspect of your neighbors kind of being good family members too, taking care of each other. So there was a lot of like potluck kind of dinners, like people bringing in food and making food together. This song is obviously named after a food product, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. So there was already that kind of food aspect in my life growing up of being community. Food building community. Churches are good at doing the potlucks and the homeless outreach or whatever sometimes. And we were also recipients of, maybe some leftover foods or people bringing us meals or something like that. So there was always a sense of strong community around how food could help sustain humans basically, or a family of humans. But we were also, my mom in particular, she comes up a lot when I'm talking because she would literally give away her furniture to somebody who was in need.
Wow.
One of my girlfriend was first. My wife was my girlfriend. She was first in our life, and she came back to visit a second time, and she's like, "Carmen, where's your couch?" And my mom's like, "Oh, they needed it. They needed furniture."
Yeah.
And my wife is like, "Well, now you don't have furniture, And then and my mom's like, "Oh well, it'll work out. We'll get something else." So that was kind of the whole idea, and how I was kind of opened my eyes to even as America, even the poorest American is still richer than most of the world. And that's what taught me. That's that little thing of people giving us stuff, but then we turn it around and give it back or give it away. And maybe we starve a little bit, but they're sustained also. And we're all kind of working together. And then, so like I hear this song, and it's about the little red hen. It's kind of an allegory to the little red hen story, classic golden book, and she's like, "Hey, who's going to help me?" Everyone's like, "Nah, I can't do it. And then when the bread's ready, then everyone's like, "Yeah, I can do it." But the hen's like, well, the hen kind of gets snarky and is like, "Nah, I'm going to feed my babies, whatever." But I feel like somebody like my mom or maybe Gandhi or Jesus would be like, "You didn't help me make this bread, but I'll share it with you."
Sure.
And so I started learning about more like the isms. So going through Christianity, I'd learn about communism, socialism, and other isms, why those are bad. But I was like, some of those things sound kind of good to me,
right?
Like, oops, I'm not supposed to say that. But why are those things bad? Let me look more into that. Let me look into why those things are so terrible why you say they're so terrible. And then the more I learned about them, I'm like, well, I could see, secular humanism being a thing or whatever, but there's aspects of it that I love, that I like, that if we could adopt, that maybe we could be a better society. But humans are lame and we ruin everything. So back to the song, he's like, when I speak my mind, and then just, I don't know, just almost I could break down every single line and being like, why is this a part of my life? I won't bleed for you. Death will be the day I concede to you. Like all these, it's also could be an anthem for someone who is a super devout religious person. Every single line from start to finish could be a super devout religiosity song, just if you look at it that way. But I wasn't looking at it that way, but I could see how this could be an anthem for anyone who's like, this is my anthem, this is my fight song,
Yeah.
Because it's like, dude, Propaganda, when I first heard this, I was like, yes, a goofy sounding, snotty ass brat band. I mean, I have kind of the same voice as Chris sometimes when I'm at that age. And I was like, dude, this is amazing because they got the harmonies, they got the musical talent. He's saying, at the time, I didn't know what exactly everything was saying until I really delved in. But I was like, I'm all in for this. This is perfect for me. I don't know. And then I have no need for you. That's when he says that, and they bring in those super long background vocal harmonies behind it. Yeah, and it doesn't stop. It just keeps going all the way through the last line. Yeah, and it goes higher and higher. It's kind of a future nod to Megan, but
that's so great,
right? But he's like, when he's saying like I have no need for you, that could be like almost like a teenager coming out of youth group and saying like, what's my purpose now? Because at the time, or even I don't know if it's still like this, but the church youth group system didn't really have a good programming for like after high school. Then what? Okay, now they're adults. So you're 18, you go to a Christian school and you get married, and there's no room for divorce because that's against the Bible. And then half the people get divorced.
Yeah,
because they're not taught things the right way, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just an example or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And then another part was I do remember one time when my dad was still around in the family, he said, we were talking about paying bills, and he's like, they're trying to squeeze blood from a turnip or squeeze blood from the stone. And then Propaganda says the same thing later in this song, like, dude, because they're talking about, my dad was talking about, getting more money out of us and stuff like that. And it wasn't going to happen at the time. And then Propaganda says, and I was like, wait, what is he? So the saying means you're not going to get anything out of me that, is not, I've given you all I can, basically. I've done all I can on my own, you can't. I really want to talk to Chris about this personally, because he's really saying like, I have nothing left to give, basically, and I've given you everything. I'm not going to do what you say, basically. It's almost, and man, now the more they talk about it, it could also be a middle finger to your parents,
Yeah.
Because who will help me bake this bread? I'm out on my own. I'm living in the world on my own. I'm out on tour as a young musician, starving. I'm going to do it. I mean, I don't know. It could be a thing like that too. Now that I think about it, it's like moving out. I moved out the second I turned 18,
Well, in the line, I won't bleed for you, kind of to me signifies a shift in a person's life. Like maybe you would have previously bled for them, but then you realize that they extract so much from you in sort of a usury manner that eventually you're like, wait a minute, I would have done anything for you. I would have given everything to you if you would have just met me halfway and like been like my equal, but you don't see me as that. So now I have to sever this relationship. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. It's and also bleeding for somebody is like a pretty good sacrifice, like, I mean, not even just like in the sense of a sacrificial lamb or anything like that. It's like you're literally bleeding open or donating blood to the American Red Cross. It's like you are giving life, basically you're giving part of your life to whatever he's talking about, the cause, a parents, a family, a church, whatever. So I'm wondering, like, Chris, who hurt you? Did you grow up in the church? Is this something that you're telling me about? I won't bleed for you. I have no need. For me, because I try to donate blood as much as possible, because I've the blood, they keep asking me for my blood. So I'm like, if I can, I will. And it's a sacrifice. It's time and giving and pricking needles and like all this stuff. It's like, it's really no sweat to do it, but it's like, it is a sacrifice to some degree. And I never sacrificed, like I never joined the military and went overseas and did that whole thing. Excuse me. But that's also a sacrifice. Like there's a chance that you might not make it back, And so I understand that part of it. A lot of military in my family and in this town and stuff like that. I understand that. And it's a sacrifice. And then what are we sacrificing daily on the daily? Well, my mom giving me her last penny to buy stuff for school, or giving away her last morsel of food to the neighbors, or like, what are we doing on a regular basis? And that's kind of how I view church now, or Christianity, or my own life with that, is like, I don't agree with all the kind of tomfoolery and televangelist stuff, but there was something to be said about how we treat other people.
Yeah.
Literally, my mom literally living out the values of love thy neighbor, no matter who you are, what you look like, what's going on in your life. And some people ostracize my family for being divorced. That's not cool. Like,
Yeah.
But the ones that didn't, the ones that did not, and the ones that really surrounded us are the ones that I still stay in touch with and respect. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah.
And this song too, like one of my favorite lines in it is peripherally blind, intellectually numb.
Oh yeah.
And I love that one because, you think about like the blinders from side to side, keeping somebody from seeing what's outside of their narrow worldview, whether it's like a couple neighborhoods over from your house where, the quality of life is extremely different due to, structural inequality or whatever. The history of the way that our neighborhoods have developed lead a couple streets over to be totally different universe almost in some ways.
Yeah.
And so as long as you don't have to see it, you don't have to learn. So you stay intellectually numb by staying within your blinders and just looking straight ahead of you without expanding that worldview and going a couple streets over and seeing what life is like in something that's a little different from what you've experienced, because then it prevents you from having empathy whenever you're later on in life. And, does that all make sense? Am I just rambling?
No, you're right on. I think the church worldview, the church view, or whatever you want to call it, it can be very myopic. And I think that we see it a lot. We've seen it a lot in the past few like elections or like stuff that people start talking about, like, oh, it's San Diego or Southern California or the border is all like this.
Right.
But that's somebody's talking from Ohio or Wyoming or, maybe even another country. It's like because they haven't experienced this life down here or in El Paso or San Diego or Brownsville or whatever. It's like the towns that are on the border or even a Canadian border. I don't know. But like, you're not here to see what is going on. You're not even go macro, or I'm sorry, go even more micro and see what's going on in my neighborhood, on my street, in my apartment complex, in my house, in my room, in my closet, like keep going. And then you're going to see those things. Like, as far as intellectualism, it's like, people like, they like to wax philosophical and intellectual about all these things that they may or may not know about, take it for what it is, like somebody tweeting 140 characters about, abortion or the border or whatever. It's like, are you an expert? Can we have a real discussion about it? Or are you just saying like this, they're wrong and I'm right?
And like, I lived in Mexico for about 14 months when I was 24 and, going back and visiting the place where I was from and having people tell me about like what people in Mexico thought.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, like there's no way that you can talk about this in an even remotely informed manner. And I currently am living in the place that you're talking about. And you've, as far as I know, never gone there, never crossed that border, never met people, never understood like what their lives are like or why they might make certain choices. Like, I literally was so stupid, Josh, that I moved to Mexico and thought that people in Mexico wanted to move to the US. Like, that's how stupid I was. And like, I was talking to people and I was like, oh yeah, so do you ever want to like move north or anything? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, this is where I live. Like, why would I, you know what I mean? Like, so that's how stupid I was about all this. And, going somewhere and seeking to, not remain intellectually numb is, to me, one of the greatest gifts of being a human.
Oh yeah. It's just a matter of, as I've grown, I'm a miner at heart always, but like, as I've matured, like, and in my worldviews and the way I feel about, the church or the non-church culture or whatever the case may be, it's like, I understand that, man, everybody's the same, actually. Everybody's actually the same. We're all looking for validation. We're all looking to find some answers, and we all just want to hug. It's like, I don't know.
What year did you find How to Clean Everything as a record?
1990. That must have been 95.
Okay.
96.
Okay, so it had been out for a while. Was Less Talk More Rock out by the time you found this, or was this pre-Less Talk?
I think I got Less Talk first.
Okay, cool. Okay. I was just curious, like, where all this fit in. When did you first see Propaganda live for the first time?
That must have been 97. I saw them on tour with Good Riddance.
Okay. So before,
and then I fell in love with Good Riddance from there.
Nice. Very cool. So do you have any other, like, before we move on from How to Clean Everything era, I'm wondering if you have any other overall sentiment about that LP that you'd like to share, or any other takeaways or impacts from, this song or others, just that really stand out that you felt like sharing?
Oh, from How to Clean Everything. Yeah. I mean, man, I often go back to this record and listen to it front to back. And it's really cool to just hear. It's cool to hear a band's first full length, for one thing. And if you stay a fan the whole time or whatever, and go through and, go from start to finish, how they've changed, how they haven't changed or whatever. It's like, it's almost like I grew up with them kind of. I grew up in my own career with Propaganda or with Chris's lyrics or the music or whatever, the changes they did. But hearing this record and trying to understand the things they were saying, because Chris uses some $5 words, just like Greg Graffin. And I feel like it made me smarter in some ways. It wasn't just, it was like a lesson in not just punk rock, but like he's talking about feminism and politics and even different religions and different cultures and different countries. And he sounds very well traveled. And, at least from the lyrics, from what I understood way back then, is like, this guy sounds smart, or they're writing about cool things. And it inspired me to write about those things from my viewpoint, my standpoint. It's like, this stuff's happening in the church. No one's doing anything about it. How can we talk about it? And I did get in a lot of trouble, but I'm okay with that.
Nice. Well, should we move on to Let's Talk More Rock?
Let's do it.
Okay, so you chose the song People's History of the World. At the turning point in history, some fuckfish recognize that knowledge tends to democratize culture, societies. From Let's Talk More Rock. And you said you got Let's Talk More Rock first, right?
I believe that was the order. Yes.
Okay, cool. So what's interesting, I got How to Clean Everything first, but I didn't get it until like late 97, early 98. So I got them in order, but I got the first one first because it's just the way that it fell into my lap. So let's talk about People's History.
Yeah.
Tell me, I personally think that the way this song starts with like that quiet guitar and then it kicks in, that this could have been the opening track on the record.
I feel like it might have been. I feel knowing what I know about Ryan, it probably was. I don't know. It would have been a rad opening track for sure.
I think it would, because it's talk about such a big picture. Like the message of this song is so big picture and can talk about it talks about all of human history in the first line.
Yes.
You know what I mean? This to me almost is sort of a missed opportunity as an opening track. Which maybe that'll make somebody mad, but I think this would have been a really good opening track just because of that opening effect on the guitar and then how it kicks in. And then it talks about every person in the world, all of human history.
So kind of a lot to tackle.
It is. So tell me what you think about the music and the performance on this particular song.
Yeah. Like
so good.
And that you hear that again throughout the song. I could picture Ryan, the producer, being like, let's turn this down and then we're going to kick it in, at the turning point in history. So like, when the way the music, like again, the music, capital M music, being the spiritual mother of the band. I don't know if that's too woo woo, but I feel like sometimes the music is meant to be another a personality, and that little like thing, that little like and the way it's quiet is like, okay, gather around, we're gonna tell you a story.
It's
we're
like a kindergarten teacher
in a sense, yeah. And as far as an opening track, or sequencing to where it is, it really does set the tone for. I mean, the cover of the album is like, just it is the Calgary Rodeo or something like that.
Yeah, Stampede.
Doesn't really have to do it. There could have been many different covers for this record, but like they go with Stampede. Sure.
I think it was the 84 Stampede poster. I think it was
sure. Maybe it's significant to something on the record, but as far as the turning point in history, I mean, it's also it's a turning point in history for the band, because like the record like the sound is different. It's not, it's still snotty, it's still like cool, like snotty. I don't even like saying skate punk about this band, but they have they did a lot of different musical things on this album that they hadn't done on, at least on, not on Let's Talk More, I mean on How to Clean Everything, excuse me, but starting with that little like come on gather round little like axe riff thing, and then going into the song, and then he starts doing these like almost these like arpeggio kind of little notes while he's singing. I don't remember if they have two guitar players at this point.
Nope.
You tell me. Okay, no. So how is he doing that? How is he doing it? And I didn't, I was just learning about tracking in the studio at the time, but then they still played it live like that. When he's the part I'm talking about is when he's just kind of picking notes like I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to do that thing. But if you know the parts I'm talking about, he's playing all this ripping metal riff while he's singing, which is already hard work. He's like, being James Hetfield over here and playing these metal riffs while he's singing. And then he starts doing these arpeggios, like these pinky arpeggios across the higher part of the guitar neck, to add to the musicality of this punk song.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they have three guitar players.
I think you're talking about the parts where it's like manufactured our delusion.
Yes.
Yeah. I think yeah.
Like
I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
It is. And then it breaks it down too. It's got a really cool stopping point, a breathing point to the bridge. You can vote however like he's going into that whole slow part. And then he starts talking about old things that actually American political figures have said in those lyrics too. So I think that the music is really, I don't like, if you look on their website, he doesn't break down line by line. It's just like all the words, no spaces, maybe even like less punctuation. It's just like words,
stories.
So like he's writing,
it's like a paragraph.
Yes. He's telling us a story. He's telling us an anecdote or something, and it's just there. And then he's somehow making it work with this beautiful music. It sounds beautiful. Like if you really listen to the musicality of it, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So Keith and I, we did an episode about this song ages ago. And we went through this in excruciating detail, but recently on one of our episodes, I think it was on the Note to Self episode, we talked about how much of a probability there is that something will become legislation based on public support. Mm-hmm. And we found some studies that showed that there can be hardly any public support of an issue or roughly 100% public support of an issue. And based on the structure and the way that like the government of the United States is set up, mm-hmm. there's roughly a 30% chance something will become passed into law. Mm-hmm. Even if 100% of the population supported it, it would still only have about a 30% chance of becoming law. And so to me, this is a really interesting line. And, religion keeps coming up in this episode. And it talks about the monopolized power mm-hmm, mm-hmm. confined to a few. So in this line, it talks about how priests, clerics, and elites have the monopolized power within society, and how the rest of us are merely there to serve those at the very, very top. And which is a very dark message, but there's a lot of truth that springs from it when you consider how difficult it is to be elected to public office in the United States today, and how much power is, just concentrated far outside of your reach, far outside of my reach.
Yep.
And, how you almost have to be born into it to be destined to have that monopolized power. And I'm wondering if you can just reflect on that a little bit, coming from the world that you come from and some of the history that you have in your life, and what this lines of the concentrated and monopolized power mean to you.
Sure. I mean, the basic generalization of the church context is that the pastor is in charge. And where's the pastor getting their power from is like either the board or God himself, or, mm-hmm. Or sometimes the pastor is worshiped as a deity in some cases, and then not every church structure is like that, but that's the generalization, is like, that's the pastor's church. He or she, well, back then it was all he, no, you don't question that. That's like authority, and wow, you tell me not to question authority, and I'm going to, it goes and that goes back to my love of bad religion, and like just figuring out answers for myself is like, you're telling me what to do. I'd like to figure that out for myself, please. And then so monopolizing power, I and this gets into the other songs that I chose also, but I saw that happening in my own home. This guy comes into our life, and we decide to go from Mexican Catholic church to this predominantly non-Catholic, very non-Catholic Calvary Chapel system church. Excuse me. Which is very like, you mess up and you're going to hell. God wants to forgive you. It's like, oh, okay, well, there's still hope for me. I could still be a good person, but on that note, like the Catholic church that we grew up in is like, there's a lot of guilt stuff in that too. But I'm not as involved with that anymore in the Catholic side of things. But in the Calvary non-denominational, the monopolization of power is definitely a structure. It's definitely a structure. There is like the head guy all the way at the top, and then the sub pastors or whatever, and then there's like celebrities, and there's like it was really strange in a sense, because it's like the father of the church or whatever, like we didn't call him father or anything like that, but it's like, what's happening now? It's like, these are basically every other family is your kid, even if the families are older than you or whatever. It's like, it's such a weird dynamic, because this person's like in charge, quote unquote, of everyone's spirituality or their walk or whatever. It's like, that's weird. That's weird. And that's a lot of pressure to put on someone. Also, it's a lot of pressure to put on one person to be in charge of everyone's fate, which is how now I've realized that America feels like it's their responsibility to save the world. Like the white savior to other impoverished nations, or like the financial savior when we're borrowing money from other countries, or like, like, I don't know. It's just so weird, because it kind of trickles down from basically the way our nation was founded, on Christian values, and we're a Christian nation, or, Puritanism or anything like that. It's like, at what cost? At what cost? And that goes into the fixed frequencies.
Yeah. Let's jump. Do you want to jump over to fixed frequencies?
If you'd like, yeah. Because I mean, and just one more thing on the lyrics is
absolutely.
One more thing on the lyrics for People's History of the World is it also got me reading Howard Zinn, and then
me too.
Yeah, it got me reading really.
Yeah.
In general, it got me interested. It got me interested in like, what? Harcourt Brace Jovanovich is not the only history book out there. And that's a Dutch company making our American history books, a Northern European company making our children's history books. There's so much other history that is not in these history books. And I learned that after I was done with school already, unfortunately. What are they not telling us? And why are they not telling us this in school? Why do they not tell us about Juneteenth or all these different things that happen to Indigenous people or First Nations on our continent? And then why am I getting in trouble on if I say something about Canada Day or 4th of July, if I just say something like, hey, don't read your history books, ask somebody, I'm still trying to ask these questions and ruffle feathers, because there's a reason why it's called the people's history.
Right.
And not like just history books or whatever the case may be. It's like, they're not telling us something in these classes. And that's why college courses offer so many different things, like Latina women's experiences, or like people of color's experiences. Like there's very specific studies you can do, because it's all the stuff they didn't teach you in school.
Yeah. Well, and this song talks about, and if your schools won't teach us, we'll teach ourselves. And so the name of the song is very much saying like people's history needs to be differentiated from history. So you go to school, you enroll in a class, you go to a history class, and you learn a certain thing. Keith and I have talked about this so much on the show, considering we're both teachers, but how history and people's history are two very, very different things as well.
Right. It could also be, in this case, history to me is synonymous with experience. People's experience of the world. Because the history of because like even the book like the Bible, it's like that's really just the history and story of the Jewish people or God's people, if you will, or whatever. And then come to find out it's kind of penned by William Shakespeare at some point, or you know what I mean? It's like it becomes a history book or a history lesson, a guidebook for history. It's like they don't talk about abortion in the Bible. They don't talk about like drug use in the Bible necessarily. You could pick out an allusion to it, but it's like they're not saying, you know what I mean? It's just like it's part of the story. It's not the whole thing. You know what I mean? So I mean, that's my viewpoint, and I've gotten in a lot of trouble and still do for my viewpoint on that.
You know, something that strikes me about this song, and I'm just kind of realizing this right now, is that Keith and I have noticed that a lot of the songs tend to end on a note of hope after a lot of lyrics that are very despair inducing. There'll be something like rise at the end of Note to Self or whatever. After a very dark song, we have this note of hope. And that happens in tons of songs. And this one doesn't. This one doesn't end on a note of hope. And I think that might be the less talk, more rock era. But it says, believe it or not, even if democracy broke loose, power would just make the economy scream until we vote responsibly. So it's like the nail that sticks up gets hammered down aspect is like this song. It's like, and even if you vote a certain way, and even if we actually had this victory, they would just ruin our economy and send inflation sky high and send interest rates sky high and, you know, make everything unaffordable. And then we back down. And because life becomes so difficult that we, you know, are just trying to make it on a day-to-day basis, that we have no choice but to back down from taking over power. So this one doesn't really it doesn't seem like it ends on that note of hope that we've noticed in so many other songs. And I'm wondering how you feel about the fact that this one kind of ends like on a, well, you can try, but you're still screwed kind of like ending.
Like almost like nihilistic. It's like, well, or it could be a call to action. You know, nothing's going to change until you vote responsibly.
Yeah.
Like here's the solution, you know, I mean, here's a maybe something that could help, you know, all this stuff happened. It's the history. And even if democracy broke, even if we could do this stuff, they're still going to bring us down. And, you know, until we vote responsibly. Right. So if you guys don't want to see history repeat itself, you have a chance to change that. Maybe if you start by voting at the small level or voting at the big level, if the voting system isn't corrupt, you know, maybe that's the solution. Because otherwise, you know, we're screwed. They've been in power for so long. Obviously, look at the way we built our country or other countries, even, or the world, Manifest Destiny. All that stuff is like, you know, voting is supposed to be able to help that.
Yeah.
I promise you promise me, like we're trying to help each other, and they're not letting us help each other.
Yeah. You know, Josh, you mentioned that you enjoy things that prod, you know, the unorthodox within society, which I dig. This record, the cover, the words around the edge of the cover, I feel like this is probably important, and I should ask you about it. How do you feel about the fact that this record does exactly what you say you enjoy so much about, you know, being alive?
Right. So raised mostly by my mother, I'm pro-feminist, you know, like number one, like when you see, I mean, I will save this answer for the other songs, but I think that I'm pro-feminist in the sense that I have a mother, I have a wife, I have a daughter. Like those are three generalizations. And some hardcore feminists would be like, it's more than that. I'm like, I know, but those are the first three things on my mind. So in that sense, and I would argue against anyone in the church who's saying feminism is like blah, blah. It's like, okay, let's look at some stories from Jesus's life. Born to, you know, unwed mother, who was the first person who was the last person to take him to the cross, who was the first people that he saw when he came back from the dead. If you believe the story, it's like they're all women. And the Bible talks a ton about Jesus doing food stuff and Jesus talking to women and just hospitality and all around. Oh yeah. And then the water to wine story, that was all about, you know, his mother said he was trying to keep his mother happy. Jesus was pro-feminist. Boom. Full stop. And then what's the other ones? Pro gay positive.
Yeah. Gay positive.
Gay positive. It's like, so in the church, let's say this may or may not be a true story. Wink, wink. I have a friend who's gay in the youth group. Are you going to tell him he can't come to church?
Yeah.
Because he's gay? He's trying to be a good person. He's struggling with his own sexuality and it's hard to do that as a middle schooler or high schooler. I get teary talking about it because it's like, why wouldn't the church or a punk rock or any community, why wouldn't you let this person be a person just because they don't like, wouldn't you be stoked to have them over to your house? They're not going to try to get your daughter pregnant. Like there's all these other things that you could like argue for. And also they're one of my best friends. You're going to tell me I can't be friends with them? Like, yeah, fuck that. Like, that's really stupid. I didn't know that many gay like girls growing up because I don't think that was it wasn't very like common. At least they weren't out. I don't know. Right. Obviously they were around, but they weren't as out as you could see kind of more like when a guy was, maybe, perhaps, at least in my world, at least down here in San Diego. And honestly, there was the tropes like Revenge of the Nerds and like all these different things in the 80s movies of what gay was, but like it's not always just like, again, it's not that black and white. You could be like having tendencies or bisexuality or all the other, anything that you could be feeling growing up as a kid when you're questioning yourself. Or if you come from a broken home, you don't have as many like positive figures in your life. It's like, well, I'm going to find my own way. Yeah. And if you spend a lot of time with this group of people, you might turn this way. If you spend a lot of time with this group of people, you might go the totally opposite direction or whatever the case may be. So it's like, why as a church would we not be positive to all these things? If they're supposed to say everyone's welcome, why isn't everyone welcome? So yeah, gay positive, sure. Yeah. I'm not, what's wrong with that? Who cares?
Right.
And what's the third one?
There's anti-fascist and animal friendly.
Yes, animal friendly, anti-fascist, animal friendly. Anti-fascist, that should be a no-brainer. If you're a real American, yeah, or a real Canadian, that should be no-brainer. But then now it's become such a thing where anyone who doesn't agree with you is a fascist.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone even knows what the history of fascism is when they're arguing about it. You might because of your other podcasts and stuff, but
we definitely collectively as a country need to stop, throwing around a lot of terms that we don't understand. Like that's one of our definitely one of our intellectual weaknesses. I've noticed is that when people talks about any concept, any deep philosophical, political, social concept, and they are just bandying about what they've heard on television, it's reckless and honestly boring. So that's how I kind of feel about that.
It's become trite to just use words like calling someone a socialist or a fascist or and a bit like or even just to put it in political and presidential terms, how can you call this president a fascist and then say no, this person is a fascist? It's like, no, there can really only, I don't think you understand this, and it's not an ism. It's not like a full belief system. It's, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, and I don't know. That's a whole like disgusting long topic that I could talk about forever because I hate it so much. But like as a church, if you want to keep going from that church viewpoint, it's like, the church should be anti-fascist too. Yeah. So that's kind of a basic one for me. It's like anti-fascism. Yeah. Americans are anti-fascist.
Well, so Josh, there's the theme that we keep returning to is a lot of tied to your own personal history and, growing up within a church community and, learning how to question those kinds of things. And I think that jumps really nicely to our next song we're going to jump from 1996 to 2005. To Potemkin City Limits, and we're going to talk about fixed frequencies. Now, I have to caveat this because this is a song along with Fidal's Hearse from this record that feels like something that is entirely forgotten by this podcast to date. We've never talked about fixed frequencies on this podcast. People have been asking for it since day one, and we just flat out haven't done it. This song, Fidal's Hearse, Fixed Frequencies, Fidal's Hearse, and Haile Selassie are three songs that I just haven't really engaged with on this show that much. And I'm thrilled you picked this one because it forces me to address it and to
Yeah.
talk about it. But one of the reasons that I've never really talked about this one or Haile Selassie to date is because I've talked about religion so much on my other podcast, Classical Ideas, that I've been doing for like 5 years. And I've, done episodes on Israel. I've done episodes on Palestine. I've interviewed Palestinians who live in diaspora on that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I've interviewed people who are proclaimed Zionists on that podcast. And anytime that you address a topic like Israel and Palestine and the biblical Judea and Samaria and stuff like that, if you miss any detail, I feel like you're setting yourself up for a whataboutism, endless stream of comments to where it feels like there's no way that you can comprehensively do a song like this, Fixed Frequencies or Haile Selassie, without endlessly hearing about what you missed. So I think that is the reason why I have shied away from doing those particular songs. And this is why I was so happy that you picked it, because you kind of forced my hand to acknowledge that Fixed Frequencies exists and that it totally rules. So let's talk about the music first. So tell me your thoughts on the musical composition and the performance of this song, because it's very, very special, very unique. There's so much vocal layering that goes on. And I'm just wondering your thoughts and general musical assessment of this tune.
Music first is like, the song is an absolute banger, even though it's not a fast, like fist in the air kind of kill you circle pit song.
It's a surprising song to follow.
Or is it? Yeah.
It's a surprising one to follow speculative fiction, like, because it slows down that speculative fiction, like that fast, predictable pace that you're come to know and expect from like a record opener.
Yeah.
But then this one just like hits the brakes a little bit. And, it's a surprising second song.
You're right. I think, and it's equally to me as powerful in another way with the music, because it's got that drum beat that I love. It's a very driving foot beat. It's
a Deer Coach's Corner style.
Deer Coach's Corner. I mean, other bands have done this beat also that I love. I just love it. I love it still has that punk power that you come to expect from a punk rock song. Excuse me. And again, it's that music, the mother music speaking. To me, this one has all the powerful drums throughout. Of course, he's a powerful drummer. But he's also, it's beautiful musically on the guitar too. To me, I could I could have gone for a little bit more bass in the mix on this song, because it has a groove, and it really, so the rhythm section of a band could really perform on this song just with the tempo and the beat that they have. Not complaining about it, it's just I would have loved to hear more of it.
Right.
But the musical has got like a couple of breakdowns that he does really well on the guitar, where he's just kind of picking some strings while he's still singing. And again, like, he's so talented with his musicianship. And of course, the harmonies being some of the music, also the way the harmonies react to each other with the vocals are also in harmony with the musicianship. If that makes sense. So there's like the vocals and the guitar and the bass are all creating this harmony together, this melody, this like almost like dissonant melody, the way he's doing them. And excuse me, I don't know what's happening in my throat there, but this song musically, I love just that breakdown of what you've come to expect from Propaganda. It's like, this is not ska punk. This is not snotty skate punk. This is not, again, double time beats. This is not the Fat Record sound or Epitaph Records or G7. Like, it's like they almost invented a new sound with this song. If that makes sense. Like they figured out a way to play the guitar a little bit slower with beautiful chords, these like weird minor ninths and stuff like that. And then like also, but a powerful drum beat behind the whole thing.
There's not a song like this on Today's Empires, Tomorrow's Ashes, really.
No. I mean, this is, I could picture this song being in like movie soundtracks, or having like an R&B singer singing it. Like it's such a well-written, well-constructed song. And if anyone from the band is listening, this is just like such an inspirational musical piece. Just the music alone, even like I said, the way it's written, and I can tell through the chord structure and song structure that I don't know if I'd be able to play it. And then of course it also has a breakdown with these octave slides towards the end, like how much more groove can you add to one song?
Yeah. And it really is sad to me that this record was so overlooked when it came out by fans of the band, because to me, this song and Cut Into the Earth from Potemkin City Limits are two of my favorite Propaganda musical compositions that exist in the entire discography. Like, I think that this record, like especially Cut Into the Earth and this song, Fixed Frequencies, are two of the most unique musical pieces that they've ever done. Like, if they were just available as instrumental tracks, they would still be interesting.
No, you're totally right. If this was fully instrumental, it would still be one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
The reason that I picked this song is because this is one of the songs that the music is like one of the vocals, and the vocals are like part of the music. It's like, this is such a cohesive song. This is such a cohesive song. And I haven't even started talking about the lyrical content.
We're going to get there, I promise.
No, I mean, I'm saying like this could be, I can't talk about how well written this song is, and it's inspired me to write songs like this. And it's got the all pummel vibe, like the broken, got that kind of tempo where I could picture like Stephen Edgerton playing guitar in this. Or I know that they did this at Blasting Room.
No, they didn't. Not this one.
But the guys mixed it and did it, right?
Yeah. Jason Livermore mixed this one.
It
was an emergency mix. The story on that is on Patreon. Yeah. It's so funny.
That's right. I just automatically, Bill, when I see Bill and Jason's name on there, I'm like, oh, cool. It went to blah, blah. But I know that Bill is a melody man. He's obviously good at drums and songwriting, but he's got these like weird melody ideas too. And I could picture Stefan also playing. So like I said, it's such a well-written song that I could picture other people doing this song.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That to me, that's a good song.
I love it. Well, and I love that you specifically honed in on the drums immediately at the start of your point, because to me, Potemkin City Limits has maybe my favorite drum recording. I think that the snare drum sound on Potemkin City Limits is my favorite. It, like, whenever I listen to it in my car extremely loudly, I cannot get enough of the drums on this record. So I'm glad that you went there immediately, because I like, whenever I think about drums, I'm like, I think that Potemkin's my favorite drum sound. I don't know. Okay, so let's get into the lyrics here.
Yeah.
So this one I've got some thoughts on. So we've got this opening line: "Here in the land that Abraham was promised to receive, we listen to you catechize from your pulpit overseas." So we've got this opening reference to Genesis 12, right? Where it says, "Now the Lord had said to Abram, get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house to a land that I will show you." So we've got this opening reference right to the Bible, smack dab in your face. Tell me a little bit about the biblical reference here in this opening line.
Yeah, this has always been a point of contention for myself, for family members, for other people in the church when I talk about this, because it's like in Genesis, in that verse where it's he's talking about Abraham, and I'm wondering if Chris is like totally like raised in some kind of church system that I was, but like that God is basically telling Abraham to do manifest destiny. Wow. God is saying, hey, here's some land, take it. You know what I mean? You have some land. Don't worry about that land that you have. Go to that land, and that's yours, and your generations to come will all be there. And that's why it's so messed up, because everyone's fighting over this thing that they thought that was theirs, and then so we took that message and spread it across, empires and, English and everywhere that basically people thought they were the chosen ones to take over this new land. And henceforth, here we are, it comes to America in the 1700s, and it's just kind of still happening today. With like open space land is not we can't have land anymore. It has to be condominiums or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it goes from Genesis to today. And because God said to Abraham, go get some land. It's cool.
So then we have this catechize term, which I think is super important. So catechism, teaching catechism is like talking about the tenets of a religion, right?
Yes.
So
it's usually to youth.
Yeah, so it's
typically.
like synonymous with preaching, right? So we've got it. We've got this church reference to the way that the story of Abraham's family having this promise from God is then taught in every church across the world, right? So many of these like pulpits are that where the catechism is delivered are from churches that are extraordinarily far away from this specific spot on the world that we're talking about, which leads to people having a very, very narrow view of what the history of that spot actually is, because most people will never actually go there and experience it for themselves.
True.
Tell me a little bit about, the catechism of the Holy Land from like an American point of view.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, even to go back to the title of the song, fixed frequencies in the singular form in radio communications, fixed frequency is something that's immovable and changeable. Like that's a fixed station is like, nothing's going to change.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Nothing is, you're not going to change anything about this frequency. You can add to it or on different frequencies or different channels, but this fixed frequency is the go-to, the standard, the bedrock of this radio communication satellite or whatever the case may be, a station. So it's pretty interesting that he chose fixed frequencies because he doesn't necessarily say anything about radio communications in the song, but he's talking about, so the catechisms is, like I said, it's usually, at least on the Catholic standpoint, I guess the Calvary Chapel and the other denominations, they don't always use words like catechisms. They don't use a lot of the words that the Catholic Church would use or the Pope would use,
Right.
But catechisms is something that you teach younger people coming up in the church so they can learn all the tenets and the rules about how to be in the church and how to be that person. Right. And then if you're teaching like in a youth group setting, the story of Abraham would be like probably an early teaching. Like that's because it's Genesis and Abraham had a son Isaac and all this stuff. Like there's all these stories that are coming from Genesis because it's the foundation of the Bible, the foundation of the Torah and the Christian, all the different beliefs and religions that came from these stories. And then when he says settler, we both speak a settler's cant.
Yes,
it's not CAN apostrophe T. That's CANT, no apostrophe, which is a hypocritical statement. I mean, the cant is like a sanctimonious statement that a Christian person might use. And if it's a settler's cant, that to me, that's like the Pilgrims talking to the Native Americans.
Yes.
Or Israel and Palestine fighting with each other. Like, hey, God said this is my land. Well, God told me this is my land. So who's right? Who's wrong? God told us say different things. That sounds crazy. Or conquest of the Roman Empire based on, Constantine's rule or whatever the case may be. I mean, I could have those two different empires wrong. I'm sorry, but I'm talking about like spreading a message in the name of holiness, killing whoever it takes to get there. Yeah.
Well, and then we've got this other line too, like you mourn the proofs of our barbarities.
Yeah. That.
And it's like, so we you can be in the United States and you can be a person who believes in, you could be on like the left, the far left, and you could be heavily critical of certain countries around the world, while also sitting here and benefiting tremendously from the conquests of your ancestors. So I know that it's different to say, okay, this is the world that I've inherited. This is the context in which I live. But without acknowledging all of the ways that you benefit from past conquests, critiquing conquest now has an ahistorical awareness to it. So you, in order to, you obviously should critique conquest today, but like, understanding your place within the history of conquest, I feel like is very important as well.
Oh yeah. It's like basically like I wasn't brought here, I was born, or like white guilt, kind of like it's like I didn't own slaves. Like,
right.
I know. I just listen to me, and blah,
Yeah.
like it just all comes down to like listening to the other person. As settlers, or as colonialists, or anything like that, or even moving westward expansion, or I mean, I hate to say this, but the San Diego Padres are named after Padres who are, people who came over
Yeah,
here
like
to proselytize and basically
like
murdered Native Americans.
Junipero, like
Junipero
Junipero
Serra. Yeah.
Serra. Yeah, exactly.
We got a high school named after him. We got everything in San Diego is based on the missions. And what did the missionaries do down here was, you don't want to follow our religion. We're going to cut your hands off. We're going to blah, blah. And our whole damn baseball team is named after that, and we kind of make it a joke. We got the Fat Friar and all this stuff. It's like, okay. I mean, I'm a baseball fan, but
Yeah.
that just sucks that we did that. It's like Cleveland Indians or something like that. It's like that bad or worse,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like something like that. So if they change their name to something else, and the Redskins and the stuff's like, but we won't, because it's not offensive technically to some.
Right.
I mean, but then if you look at it, whoa, wow, what did we do?
You have to have a really nuanced view of the history of the term San Diego Padres in order to, jump onto the side of like, this is a team that has a name that is worthy of being changed, because that flips everything when you think about that,
People don't like when I say that. People in San Diego don't like when I say that
I'm
at all.
sure they don't.
But that's what it's named after. That's what we're doing. And we came over here with conquest in the name of, Catholicism or Christianity or whatever, because the Spanish came down through Mexico and up through, blah. It was the missions. All the missions in California are based on taking away the religiosity of the Native Americans.
Yeah. So we've got this next line here. It's kind of a long one, but so I'm sorry if I, for reading it all the way through, but it says we both read from the same old played out scripts and hum familiar tunes, broadcast on fixed frequencies, stuck in locking grooves. We both profess noble intent as we civilize human impediments.
Mm-hmm.
So if your hands are clean, then noblesse oblige, that you wipe, that you, who me, look off of your face and concede our designs separated by nothing more than place and time. So we've got this French term, noblesse oblige, that translates to nobility's obligation, which I think is really interesting. Acting with honor or generosity or whatever towards like the people of lower social class and etc. And so it's like in the context of the lyric, it's like an apology for assuming. But I'm wondering about your thoughts on this passage here, because it's very dense, and this lyric is one that's going to take me a long time to unpack in the coming months.
Right. Well, as it should. Like, it's very it's another thing about, like I was saying, about the guilt of, or your calling, if you will, or your like your moral obligation, your noblesse oblige to. You have the means by which to do so, and you're not doing anything about it. Like, even it can be as simple as voting. Some people aren't allowed to vote, even in America. Some people are not allowed to vote in other countries. It's your moral obligation to do that for them, or it's your moral obligation to help feed the poor, because that's what the Bible, or the God you worship, tells you to do. It's your moral obligation to spread the gospel by any means necessary, by killing or cutting off hands or anything like that. I mean, that's extreme, but that's what happened. He does say the fixed frequencies, and they're locked in the groove. It's like, it sounds to me like at that part, Chris, or the pen writer, the author, or he's talking about two other people, is like people who maybe grew up believing this, singing these hymns in church. You're locked into the groove of, like, not like a vinyl groove, but like you're in there, you're singing, you're singing about words that you don't even like understand or know about or anything like that as a kid, because you're like, oh yeah, we're just reading from this book. It's written by some white dude in the 1600s or even earlier, and we're still singing it. Even the song, even a famous song like Amazing Grace, was written by a white person on a slave ship to America. Hearing the sounds, the humming of the slaves underneath, and he turned it into a song that we still now sing to this day as like a Christian anthem. And then I'm not even going to get into the Star Spangled Banner, but not today. But these fixed frequencies. So like Amazing Grace, Star Spangled Banner, those would be fixed frequencies because like everyone knows them. You're forced to sing those as a kid, almost at like the Pledge of Allegiance and a lot of stuff as a kid, which I always kind of turn my back on. It's like, I don't pledge to the flag. Like even as a young church kid, I knew that that's not where I didn't feel right about that. It's so weird, that whole thing, but we're taught these things, these catechisms. It's like these, if you believe in this, then here's da, 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 da. And you could go as simple as saying it's the 10 Commandments. You can go as complex as saying like, bringing it down into Greek or Aramaic and really studying that. But the song, he's trying to say all this stuff in like, less than 3 minutes, less than 4 minutes on this one. But like, he's trying to say all these things, again, with the part that I don't understand about the lyrics, I'll just say is when the backups are like banana all the time, because I'm trying at first, when you first hear it, that's the first thing I heard. But then I could shut that off in my mind and really hear what the lyrics are saying. They're just basically saying, God told these people to go take this land. But now everyone's fighting over it because, like I said, God told them both that it was okay.
Yeah.
Who's right, who's wrong? Whoever has the most power.
Yeah. Well, and then there's a comply resist sort of lyric, the noble intent to be civilized human impediments, and seeing humans as a barrier to achieving something that you believe you have the God ordained and given right to accomplish. Human beings as impediments is a really striking visual when you think about how many people have just been mowed down and
get them out of the way,
plowed under. So then we have this
buried, if you will.
Totally. And then we have this next line, which has another biblical reference. And I went on BibleGateway.com and I looked up that let he who is without sin cast the first stone. So I found this next line: different scenes, same crimes. Pray, let him who's without sin cast the first. And so I pulled it from Gospel of John, chapter 8. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone at her. And so this is an interesting line. And then it's like, the first statues of the former rogues turned folk heroes that your forefathers hung. So we have this reference to the Bible again, and talking about former rogues turned folk heroes, which is one of the most recognizable lyrics in the song, most likely to a lot of listeners, because of the way that the lyrics are brought forward in the mix and kind of emphasized on that quiet musical moment. So let me know what you think about these lyrics.
Sure. Yeah. Former rogues being folk heroes. That could be back in the day when almost like, I wasn't around, but I don't know how the voting system worked for voting for someone like Abraham Lincoln or slave owners like Thomas Jefferson, the fathers of our country, quote unquote, the people on Mount Rushmore, who are every single person on there. You could make a critique about any one of them about being a bad person also, but those are our folk heroes. Those are like the people we sing songs about, or the people we learn about in those history books written by those Europeans. Stuff like that, or even putting up a statue of Robert E. Lee down in the South and fighting to take that down or anything like that. It's like, how do we epitomize? Going back to even a throwback to what we were just talking about, making a statue of the Father Junipero Serra in San Diego. It's like, why would we put that up?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes, he founded our, he made our city and missions and all that stuff, but at what cost? Former rogue. So how did your desert bloom? It's like ending the song on this question, and he's laying out the word bloom for so long. It's like, to me, it's a very sad line. It's like, what did it take to make this beautiful? San Diego is America's finest city. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Got all the stuff that you could want in a city. But how did we get there? You know what I mean? Like, how come this? Like, how did we get this city? And then, or even I could even break it into the Mexican-American War. It's like, this was not ours.
Right.
But and the biblical story about the let he who is without sin cast the first stone has become into context in so many other stories and stuff like that. It's because all these Pharisees and everyone is saying like, kill the person who's doing wrong, or kill the person who's not agreeing with you, or I don't agree with your political standpoint. So we're enemies. We're mortal enemies because you blasphemed my beliefs or whatever. That's in that story in particular. It's like Jesus is like, well, if you're a better person than she is, go ahead.
Yeah.
Kill her. Do it. You do it, And then nobody did. And then he's like, see, what I tell you, if you can be a better person than that, then go for it. But you know that you're not. So if you ever had the chance to sit down with one of your mortal enemies and say, we're enemies because of this, and if you can prove me wrong, then go ahead and kill me. But they'd be like, but in the movie, of course, there'd be the super crazy enemy who would just shoot you or whatever. But if they're a real human, or if you have humanity, you probably, and if you had all your marbles together in your head, you probably wouldn't kill somebody based on your beliefs, no matter how much you argue on Twitter or Instagram about, who's the best person running for president or whatever, or which denomination. Like, how do we have so many denominations of church? And anyways, if you're only supposed to be worshiping Jesus or God or all three or whatever, it's like, why are there so many denominations? Why isn't there one?
Right.
No one's going to give me that answer.
Yeah.
Because they're wrong.
and you referenced that how does your desert bloom line, but we also have to talk about the term entre nous, which leads into that, which between is us. French. Yeah. Between us. So between us, how did that desert bloom that you live in there over there? Why is Tel Aviv so stinking beautiful? You know what I mean? And so it's like this, Chris is like, hey, wink, wink, give me the real story behind how you got something this beautiful. You know what I mean? It's like, we know how you managed to pull this off. And then something else that really sticks out to me is I was thinking about a film that the journalist Thomas Friedman from the New York Times made called what was it called? It's called Straddling the Fence. He made this film in about 2005, and it's about the fences that separate Israel from the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And it's about the walls, the barriers that run across the entire country. And people are like, it's like a scar ripping through the heart of Judea and Samaria, the biblical heart of the country. And how Friedman throughout the film interviews people who are saying things like, how about we all just have an equal vote here? How about we have a one state solution and we all just have one person, one vote, and we actually live the principles of a liberal democracy? And how that would, how the re-enfranchisement of disenfranchised people could have such a massive effect on the way that everything is going. So it's like in this line here, it's like, while you like lounging carefree in your cafe is absolved from sin and human grenades, how it's like, well, what if we re-enfranchised a lot of people and turn this into an actual liberal democracy where there's actual votes being counted? So that is a really fascinating thing, to where you talked about voter disenfranchisement earlier. And I'm like, what if like that wound up shaking out one day, where like this Holy Land becomes a one state solution, and there's a re-enfranchisement of the currently 5+ million disenfranchised people who are in the region. What would that wind up shaking out? And these are the questions that I ask myself whenever I think about a song like this. What would happen if there was a re-enfranchisement? Does that make sense?
Oh, it does make sense. And I cannot picture it, to be honest. It's like, why, in that sense, why wouldn't we just give land back to Mexico? Or, like what, I mean, I'm familiar with border walls, and like what is stopping countries from just saying, I mean, it happened, I guess, not too long ago with like, South Sudan, or like, different Czech Republic. Like there's ways to do it. People can do it. Like you can move borders. Like people, it's just it's power and it's money and it's humans. It's like, we're not going to budge. We're going to fire missiles into your city. We're not going to budge. We're going to just keep calling you racist names and dogs. And you're like, God told us, like, this is our land. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's so sad and disheartening that, to me, just to think that what you just said could never happen.
Tell me a little bit more about that, though. Living on that border, I live on a border here with Canada. So Buffalo, whenever I ride my bike down to downtown Buffalo, I can see Canada. It's like 10 minutes away from me. Tell me about that San Diego, Tijuana border. Because like, if you think about, whenever I picture Israel, Palestine, I picture the walls that I've seen from studying the region. Tell me about like what it's like for you and what like a wall system sort of like looks like and feels like on your end of the country.
Sure. I have a feeling it's different from the Buffalo border wall. It's probably a little bit of a different world.
There's no wall here. None. It's just a river. It's the Niagara River.
What? Why? Why can't we do that? I'm just kidding. Yeah. I mean, there's parts of the border, Mexico border, where there is not, like this Rio Grande or whatever. There's not like such a wall. And some parts of the border wall are you can pass an arm through, like you can pass food through or gifts or whatever, like on the beach. There's a wall there. But it's just strange because it's literally a boundary between you and another person. It's literally physically the manifestation of division.
Yeah.
It's literally dividing us. And well, more recently as a political country, but like dividing us from other humans, except for that one point where you can reach across the border park. And there's a lot of people in San Diego who work in San Diego who live down there. They cross the border every day to go. It's like an extra 3 or 4 hours on your day to do so. But living down there is more affordable for some people and less and more carefree to some degree. There's parts in Tijuana where I have friends that live like on the beach for very, very affordably, and they can see downtown San Diego from there. It's nice. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it is crossing into a third world country right away. You can walk across, drive across, whatever. You can, a lot of times if we fly to one of the major cities in Mexico that are down south, we fly out of Tijuana, you walk across and then fly from there. So it's a little bit different experience than flying from one of the American cities. But it is definitely a whole nother country. It's a whole nother world. And it's right here. I can see it from my house. You know, the third worldness of it is it's very interesting and sad and disheartening at times. It can also be very beautiful and uplifting. It's Tijuana right here on the border is one of the biggest cities, like as far as population, but also just like density and expansiveness. It keeps basically the borders of Tijuana. It seems like they just keep growing. They keep adding borders so they can add more people into the space. Yeah. And they just keep going. They keep growing east because Tijuana is on the west side of the Pacific Ocean. So it's just expanding more by the millions, adding refugees from other places and stuff like that. So it's kind of, it's very hard to explain to people who have never experienced Mexico or Tijuana or even San Diego, because we have our own cuisine, we have our own fusion. There's a lot of immigrants from other countries that aren't, Mexican or Spanish speaking countries there. So we get a lot of other culinary influences. So I thrive on that. A lot of the San Diego chefs have open spots down there, or brewers or coffee makers. They've opened spots down there because it's such a cross-cultural connection. But it's, like I said, so different at the same time. And the punk rock and metal scene down there are rad.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, what is, give me like kind of like an overall lesson that fixed frequencies makes you think about. Like, give me sort of like a takeaway lesson on why this song generally matters to you as somebody who cares about the world and people.
Man, Chris and Co. Chris and Co. I think Potemkin's my favorite album overall. Mm-hmm. It's conducive. It's a very cohesive record. They're all good records in their own merit, of course. And Less Talk probably means the most to me in my journey. But Potemkin, City Limits, it's so smart. I think it's such a smart record. Every song is smart. And even the title of the album is just like, what is he's gonna tell us something right here. We're about to learn. And it's the whole album is a lesson. This song in particular, like why does Chris care so much to teach me about religion? What are you trying to tell me here, Master Chris? Like, why do you keep talking about this? Because religion is not just Jesus died for our sins, Jesus rose on Easter. It's like there's this whole human bloody history that got even before Jesus was around. There's a whole history of Christianity. I love telling people that Jesus was not a Christian. Right. I love telling people that Jesus was an immigrant and illegal, born to an unwed mother by a refugee parent. people don't like that. People don't like hearing that, but it's true. There was no white people in the Bible. There was no white people in the Bible. It's not written for Americans.
The mention of the album title, Potemkin City Limits, is super important here, I feel. Because if you go to a church in like what could only be described as a basketball arena in parts of the United States, if you turn on HBO and you watch like the TV series Righteous Gemstones, I'm thinking about churches like that, right? So and I know that's a comedy, but churches like that, the physical building structure with like the stadium seating and the sound system and the bands and everything, that all exists. And so to me, that is like a Potemkin city where you have the shiny veneer and then you have the cultural rot underneath, which is motivated and inspired by greed and profit and enriching the exact people that People's History of the World was talking about, from another song.
Yeah.
And to me, Chris is saying that in Israel, it's like a Potemkin city where it, a lot of people have described parts of Israel as looking exactly like some of the most beautiful parts of Southern California.
Yeah. Right.
And so he's saying that like we have this beautiful shiny veneer of the building facades that Grigory Potemkin was putting up along the Dnieper River. But we have the rot behind it that is just being covered up and, painted over. So to me, that's like, this song is one of the most vivid examples of Potemkin cities on this record, which didn't even include the song Potemkin City Limits on it, So to me, this almost could be like the title track of this record, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. It's my favorite song on the record. I picked it out of, their whole catalog. Obviously you gave me freedom to pick songs, and I wanted to pick this whole album. Like I could have dissected this album because I love it. And like I said, Chris came with the intention to teach on this record, I think. And from a teaching standpoint, from what I know, is like you go in expecting, there's certain things that you already expect the students to know. And there's certain things that you need them to know from each lesson. And there's certain things that you expect them to know after you're done teaching. Right. And at least in the maybe that's not didactic for me, but like maybe in a sense that Chris, and he references his other albums a lot too. I should say they reference their other albums a lot. They throw back all the time. They include lyrics from other songs in Potemkin City Limits is, like you said, not even on this record. It's like, he's smart. I think he knows these things. He's prescient. I think Chris could be a professor at teaching these things in college to some degree. Like, because like I said, he's been teaching me since I was before I turned 20, and I reference his lyrics daily, almost like biblically, like it'll come up like a movie quote or something. I'll be like, hey, how did your desert bloom? Or like, all these other things. And the whole thing about Potemkin City, we got a couple of them here in San Diego. We take our landfills and we cover them up with brand new cities. Like the most beautiful highest point in North County is San Elijo Hills, and that used to be the dump.
Wow.
And it's like they built these rad houses, all this new stuff. It's kind of like off the, it's elite and it's on a dump.
Wow. Dude, if you ever go to Winnipeg, make sure you go to a pilgrimage to Garbage Hill.
Okay. It sounds delicious.
I love it. Well, Josh, what an amazing conversation on Fixed Frequencies. Thank you so much for chatting with me about that song. That is
so good. It's a good song.
Amazing.
It's a good song, dude. Thanks for having me.
All right, so Josh, let's jump forward from 2005 to 2017, and we'll go to the Victory Lap LP, and we will talk about the song Tartuffe. And every single chance I have on this podcast that Tartuffe comes up, I have to say that I theorized in our original Tartuffe episode that We Came Here to Rock was a reference to the band Saxon, and Chris corrected me. He corrected me on the Patreon and said that it was not a reference to Saxon. So I feel like it is my duty, because I'm not going to delete that episode. Like, the error is in that episode forever. But I feel like every time that song comes up, I have to say that We Came Here to Rock is not a reference to Saxon, and that episode is wrong in several places. So there's that. So tell me a little bit about the music of Tartuffe and what this tune does for you musically and performance wise.
Okay. Starting with the music again is so Saxon aside, the music on this one is obviously just metal tinged party rock, awesome music. It's like not skate punk. This is definitely Propaganda at their most metal at some points, like just really kind of showing off their licks, showing off the talent of their love for metal, their love for like early dirty metal. Mm-hmm. I think that I don't know the sequencing on this album to have this record where it is. It's a nice. It's almost like the first riff of this album on Victory Lap, which is also a rad song. First song. That's you're taking your sip of your cold brew coffee in the morning or whatever. You're getting your energy drink, whatever you drink in the morning to wake up, whether it's not tea or whatever. By the time Tartuffe comes in, you've already you've maybe taken a rest, you've crashed a little bit, and then Tartuffe comes in, you're like, what the fuck? What? Okay, I'm awake. You got me. So Tartuffe really serves a purpose on this album for a couple of reasons. Musically, solid, banging, fun. I bet they had so much fun writing the music for this song. Yeah, I bet this was so fun to practice. Or if you're in the room listening to them play this, I bet you would just be smiling ear to ear.
And they've just performed this song twice for the first time live ever. So this song is now in the live set for the first time since it was written.
You got to see it?
I saw it 2 times.
Was it fun?
Amazing. Totally amazing. They did it better the second time. But I posted the full version of Tartuffe on our Instagram. Perfect. So if anybody wants to see the first ever live performance of Tartuffe, you can see it on the Propaganda Pod Instagram page. And I put it up. They performed it for the first time live ever, May 25th, 2022 at Lee's Palace in Toronto.
That is so rad. I'm going to see them in September when they come to San Diego. With very stoked to see them. They're touring with La Armada, the Chicago hardcore band. Yep. I don't know. This song, it's just so fun. It's like, and it harkens back to me. It's a throwback song, like a partner song almost to Today's Empires.
Nice. Cool.
I like to party fucking hard. It's like the same opening, like, come here, we're going to put your arm around somebody in the pit and just like, blah, blah, everything they sing against. But they're like, this makes you want to do that.
I love how you just partnered this song. I like seeing like patterns with the songs and seeing how like certain songs complement each other. Like I like to notice like things like I see like Fuck Machine and Refusing to Be a Man and Ladies Night in Loserville and Tartuffe as being like a series.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a mini series across the entire existence of the band. So this one to me is like part of like a quad of songs that just kind of go through the entire breadth of the catalog, which I love.
Well, what an interesting topic to even write about too. Yeah. Like again, the music, I didn't get to say it about a couple of other songs, but the way Chris breaks down his his lyrical structure over the music, like I can't figure out how to do that. Like on even on Fixed Frequencies, like singing those many notes over the music they're playing, or I mean, sorry, those little notes over that length of time over the music they're playing. It's like my mind can't even do that. He's got like 3 parts of his brain, not 2. It's like the way you can break down these words. Like I said, it's like one giant paragraph, and he's somehow making it this beautiful this lyrical song. So on this song, and like just the way he's saying, like you think it's going to be like a metal, like balls to the wall, lyric 30 lyrics a second kind of thing, but it's not. It's like, sing along to the front, Debbie, that's the back, and then it starts the song. You think it's going to be this like song the whole time, but it's like, we're talking about a French playwright from the 1600s.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's the funny thing too about comedy is like it's taking something that you think and making, satirical or fun of it or whatever, but like in a smart way. And because the author of the play is credited as being one of the best playwrights in that category.
Yeah.
And obviously Chris is one of the best playwrights in his category.
Keep going with the lyrics too. Let's just move right into the lyrical composition here, and tell me what you think about the song. You can go through it however you want. We did like the full song on the episode where we went through line by line.
That's
so
true.
I'm not going to punish you with the line by line dissection like I did with
still because my take.
Well,
my take is a little bit different. I think
I love to hear it.
It's art, and I think that I love reading comedy. I love reading plays like that. Like, I try to find comedy in things. I try to find humor in life, because if you don't believe life is funny or find the humor in it, like it's just really dark and bleak.
Yes.
Life could be either way. I mean, it is what it is. Like it's out, everything's happening out there, and we could say that that's, or we could try to find humor in some stuff. So that's one good thing about Instagram. Sometimes it's like, you could doom scroll, or you could be like, what's funny today or whatever. I mean, so Tartuffe, like I said, what a weird thing to pick a song about. But if you dissect the play or anything like that, it's like, this play is not actually that funny. Like he's again talking about hypocrisy in the church. Maybe it's a comedy because that seems funny, because who would do that? The playwright at that time was thinking that. But then the more I dug into the lines, I guess like you said, I don't want to get too crazy with the lines because you already did it. But I realized that as I keep talking about this, the stepdad in my life, the figure, the reason I don't, some things I don't like about the church or Christianity is because of, somebody like my dad or Tartuffe or Donald Trump or Mark Driscoll, or these kind of Christians, people who say they're Christians, but they're also assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Christian assholes. Right.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that drive me personally away from the church. Or anybody really, if somebody who's not in the church, if they see people like that and be like, whoa, I do not want to go to that church. I don't want to be,
Well, and in a huge blanket defense of those kinds of folks is people try to distance themselves from people who are assholes like that. They're like, they're not real Christians. But no. I don't think that it is for anyone to decide what a person who professes to be something. I don't think it's my job to say they're not a real XYZ. Do you know what I mean? If they say that they are, then I essentially have to take them at their word, even if they're an asshole. So I think that we should acknowledge that these are assholes, but they are indicative and representative of a community who, even if it's a sliver of a community, it is still a representation of a particular facet of a community. So saying they're not a real XYZ doesn't fly with me at all.
No, it's the same with any religion here. Also, the microcosms of, different parts of the Buddhist representation in San Diego or an Islamic representation in San Diego. It's like they fight amongst themselves too for, oh, you're not wearing the right thing, or you're not praying at the right time, or you're not following the rules basically of the religion. It's like, well, we still believe the same thing, right? We still worship the same God or master. It's like, leave me alone. In the play and in the song, I also love the fact that single moms to the front. Hell yeah, mom. Let's take me to the concert. You're up front rocking. And that's my experience with music is single. I mean, she got married after a while, but like I went to a lot of concerts with my mom and my aunt, like single moms to the front, deadbeat dads to the back. And the whole throwback again, not just to the feel of Back to the Motor League, but like the feel or the lyrical throwback to Let's Talk More Rock. He says literally in the song, go back to Let's Talk More Rock, because we did all that already. Now I'm talking about this topic. And another reason about the lyrics in this one, I feel are smart. They're tongue in cheek. They're funny. They're whatever. But the song is not, like, the music isn't funny. The music is like boom, 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 boom. Like, and then the lyrics are also the same way. In a comedy in general, or in a play, in a good, well-written 5-act play, there's the zenith of the play, the real everything is at act 3, and then it kind of something happens in act 4, and then act 5, everything comes together.
Yeah.
And he says that in one line. He tells us how theater works.
Mm-hmm.
Act 3 to Act 5. In the play, I'm sure you already told everybody everything about it, but I was relating that to it not being a comedy anymore. By Act 5, it's not a comedy. By Act 5, it's like, if you want to say, let's pretend, like I said, that it's an asshole Christian person or any religion, or just let's take religion out of it. It's Donald Trump, or it's Joe Biden, or it's somebody is Tartuffe in this play.
Yeah.
That you can see it through those eyes. If you're like anti-Trump or anti-Biden or Justin Trudeau or whatever, put that person as Tartuffe. Everybody in human history is somewhat of a hypocrite. Like you want to boycott AT&T, or you want to boycott Nike because they have sweatshops or whatever. It's like, but you're typing on your iPhone. You're saying that on Twitter, and all these companies owned by billionaires. You're using those platforms to boycott something else.
Yeah.
You're a hypocrite. Or you are a Christian and saying all this stuff, but then also you support other things that maybe Jesus wouldn't support.
And we're all guilty of it too. You know what I mean?
We're all guilty of it.
Every single one of us. We all are.
Of something. Yeah. I do a lot of vegan activism, but I also cook meat. I'm an omnivorous chef. I cook for the masses.
Yeah.
I do food pairings based on my clientele. And then I realized that that's basically what humans love to do that.
Yeah. We love to categorize ourselves.
Or even on the other end of things, on the more left side of things, like you hating me because I'm gay means you're an asshole. It's like, whoa, tell me why, instead of calling me an asshole. Tell me why. How can we be friends? Like, I didn't know that you were gay for one reason. I didn't know that you were vegan. I didn't know that you were sober. Like these things, like the people who are struggling with whatever, or they happen to be gay or vegan or sober or whatever, sometimes they lash out at other person for not understanding them. But like the person didn't know. We assume things like, that's why they use, everybody uses pronouns now, like he, him, or they, or all the pronouns that are available.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to help another person understand you, or to be professional, or to give a polite context of how you are as a human. But we love to, like the actors in the play, like show off our class, our nobility, our wealth, or our piety, or anything like that. Like we love to show that off because it makes you feel, even putting a sticker on like I voted.
Yeah.
Like, hey, guess what? Boom, boom, boom. Yada, yada. That's like the meme of the urinals. There's like 10 urinals. The guy on the left comes, I voted.
Yeah.
I'm vegan. All these different things. Like, okay, well, what is that? Are you saying that if I didn't, or I'm not, then I'm the asshole? Or you're telling me if I'm not Christian, then I'm an asshole? Or like, how does that work?
This is a song that Chris mentioned when they were writing it. They actually intended it to be the opening track of the record. They thought this was going to be the song that opened the record, and then it wound up getting shoehorned into the 11th position, which I think Who Will Help Me Bake This Bread was also the 11th song.
Yeah.
And People's History was like the 12th track. So you've picked some songs that are like buried in these records. Like 3 out of your 4 that you chose are like buried way deep in records. And Who Will Help Me Bake This Bread, and Fixed Frequencies and People's History of the World are songs that are not played. You know what I mean? So you've picked some songs that are
deep cuts.
They're left out these days, and I know that Fixed Frequencies is challenging because of the vocals and the complexity behind the range of the vocals. But you pick some deep ones here. Why do you think that is?
Did we just become a therapy session?
Maybe.
Awesome. Good. Because I know why. Is because oftentimes as artists, as writers, we're not always writing kind of for the fans. We're not always writing the crowd pleasing songs, the fist raisers, the sing-alongs. I mean, sometimes when I've seen Propaganda, everyone's singing along because they're so popular. But like they're not, like you said, they're not playing these ones per se, but like sometimes that's, as an artist, you can put your most into these songs because you're not writing it for other people. Does that make it, like, I don't know Chris's writing method on these kind of songs, but or the team, but like there's like a lot of complexity in these songs.
Yeah.
Like they almost make it too hard to play live sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They like do it on purpose so they can't. Or they write it for us podcasters so we can just, wax philosophical for an hour on a song or whatever.
I love it.
It's like, yeah, he's and as a fan, as a true fan, I feel like sometimes the singers are writing like to me. Yeah. Like sometimes they're writing about my ADHD, or they're writing about my struggles with the church, or they're writing about my family, or whatever the case may be, even though he's not, we've never met face to face or whatever, but as an artist to a fan relationship, I think that's one thing that's why music is so universal and grabbing us. And I keep saying music with a capital M, like the mother, the muse is like bringing us all in under the, kind of the shepherd's, watch, or whatever the case may be. It's like, we are all here to hear this song. We are all here to enjoy this together. And that's why, like, it's really crazy when people go to shows to be violent, or go to shows to not listen to the band. They just want to, like, they never look at the band. They always look at inside the crowd, or it's like, that's an experience. Sure. You are having an experience, and I can't take that away from you, but we came here to rock.
Yeah.
Like, I want to, it's just like Chris sums it up with the lyrics sometimes, like if these were a cappella or spoken word, or like I said, sung by an R&B artist, like picture James Ingram singing this song, or I don't know, Boyz II Men. It's like, this song could be sung. I mean, I don't know about Tartuffe necessarily, but some of the Propaganda songs could be sung by other artists because they're written with such an artistic pen.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about, I'm going to shift gears here in a second,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm wondering about your overall assessment of the importance of Victory Lap as a record. Tell me about this, what you think about this product in general.
Yeah. This was 2017. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's old now.
Well, yeah, but think about the time that it came out. We just had a weird election in the USA, a weird presidential election. Could have gone multiple ways. Went a weird way.
Went the way it did.
For me, it went a weird way for me. It didn't go a weird way for many, but like, yeah, it was what it was.
Yeah.
Victory Lap comes out after that, after that election stuff. And I'm not going to say that they're related per se, but like, if you're thinking about the songs on Victory Lap, is like, when were they writing these songs?
Yeah.
A lot of times he's writing about how he was brought up or whatever, but he's also writing about current events.
Right.
And I can't stop thinking that Tartuffe is Trump. I can't stop thinking, I can't disrelate or unrelate. I can't separate this song from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
For me. And Victory Lap being like, but if you look at Victory Lap, it's the roller coaster. It's a giant roller coaster sinking basically in the ocean. I don't think that's unintentional. The album as a whole is also, I feel like the artwork should be a part of the album, is part of the part of the music, part of the album. Like they're intentional on that. I hope it was intentional. Chris, please tell me, like Victory Lap as a whole album, Victory Lap being different parts of the roller coaster. And where am I sitting on those cars on the roller coaster? Or am I on the tracks about to get run over? Or am I under the water? You know what I mean? Or am I the operator? Like, where am I as a listener on this album? Yeah. And that's the way I look at all their records. But Victory Lap also is easy to do that with, because they put this like structure. They built a structure on the cover. And then Tartuffe, where is Tartuffe on this roller coaster, dude? It's really hard to, not hard. It's hard to explain, I guess, it's not the love I have for the song, but it's more like the emotions it makes happen.
That's such an interesting question. Where is Tartuffe on the roller coaster? I love that. Okay. So Josh, give me an overview of any and all times you've seen Propaganda. Tell me about the live experience history that you have with the band.
Oh, okay. Well, the very first time I saw them, like I said, was they played World Beat Center in San Diego, and which is it's a multicultural venue. It's got like representation of all countries on the painted murals on the outside. And
nice.
Yeah, it's like, it's not your traditional show venue where you would see your favorite bands, but they, like I said, they like to represent everything. And so it was really cool that I don't know if they chose that or a booking agent or whatever, but it was like, to me, that was like special. That was the only punk rock or hardcore show I had ever seen there, or their first one I had seen. And it's like I said, it was them, Good Riddance, and an opening band. And so it was really cool. The stage was like in the center of the room, like not like surrounded, the audience surrounded the stage. It was
cool.
Yeah. So there was like a little bit of room to kind of mosh pit if people were into that, but it wasn't really set up for that.
Weird.
And it was really, and there was levels. It was because it was like a performance center. It was like a theater center. It was super interesting to see that. And I've never seen another show like that. And that was the first time I saw them. And they were playing like, I think they opened with Ska Sucks. Maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah, or something like that. And because it was a nod to the culture that was in there, because there was definitely Zionism represented in there, and reggae, Rastafarianism, and it was in the building. And they did that, and they got some booze and stuff like that because it was at the height of ska punk and being on the radio. And then it was sold out. It was popular. I think there was maybe 1,000 people there or something like that. And they played all these songs, and they offended everybody, and everyone loved it at the same time.
Yeah. Was it the era where Chris would like basically yell at everybody between every song?
They were doing, yeah. And of course, they were, drumsticks up their ass and that kind of stuff. Like they were into like instigation to me. And I loved it. I really liked that. But he wasn't violent or anything like that. Cause I could tell that the songs were that he was talking like that were kind of jokes, or like, talking about, jocks beating up people, or, whatever, Ska Sucks, while they're playing ska. And then, so I was like super entertained. I was super intrigued. I wanted to be just like that. So seeing it live even made it worse for me. It made it, or worse in a good way. Like I really wanted to do that. And I tried to do that for the rest of my career.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that the only time you ever saw him?
I saw him again. No, headlining at the bigger stage, Soma. And there was like all the fans were older, everyone kind of grew up with them. Like I said, so, more beards, more arm hair, more people, you could understand the lyrics more. And they were, excuse me, by the time I saw them again, it was, I believe touring on Potemkin, or around, they were playing the songs. So there was a lot more of the prog metal stuff, like less sing-alongable sometimes, for the skate punkers. There was like, more of a musician's show, if you will. Like, they're really good. They play really good live because they don't really mess up, and they're all like super talented musicians, and that was a really fun show too, because there was thousands of, that place can hold like 3,500 or 4,000 or something like that. Wow. And it was pretty full.
Soma. Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty full. I don't think it was 100% full on the main stage, but it was like, there was a lot of people there. And I don't remember who played with them either, but I went there and I just remember it was like a really cool experience because there's a lot of jocks and conservative and military type people in San Diego who go to punk rock shows because it's kind of the cool thing to do or whatever. And I always resented that about like coming out of high school, starting a punk band, going to shows, and then all of a sudden I'm in the pit and I see on stage, my football nemesis is up there or whatever. Like he's all of a sudden into punk rock, like, standing on stage because he got in with the security guard or whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm totally into Lagwagon and know he's for name, but he's not. I'm singing along and he's not. And so I was always like, not fair. That's not cool, even though it's supposed to be welcoming for everyone. But also it's ironic that you're up there for propaganda singing about like, anti-jock stuff. And, it's like very ironic that you're up there, Doug. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the experiences I've seen with them live I think they're unique experiences, to be honest, because it's not like another show. It's not like he's funny and he's smart and he's just saying all these really smart things that might honestly go over a lot of people's heads. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Josh, what a sprawling journey we've just gone on. Do you want to tell everybody about what you do over at the Family Cast to kind of like bring us in for a landing so that people who have enjoyed our conversation can maybe spend some time checking out your fantastic show and all the hard work you've done over the years?
Thanks. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I decided that I have a lot of cool friends and a lot of cool conversations with people from multiple industries, because I'm a chef and a musician and whatever else I like to do. But like those are my two main things.
Yeah.
And so I've been talking to cool people my whole life basically about these things. And now I found that a lot of ex-musicians are now opening coffee shops and breweries and wineries and distilleries and all these different cool things that I'm into, hot sauce, and these rad things that I use on a daily basis in my kitchen. I'm like, we need to talk about that. And so I was talking to him, and like, someone's like, we should be recording these conversations.
Yeah.
So I just started kind of doing that. I already had all the music equipment to record and to do it. So I just started talking to all these people, all these cool friends and new friends and heroes even, and about life. And it's not always, I do food and music pairings as a hobby, as part of my career. So it's not always like that, but I do, like, I explain to people why this music makes me feel this way, or what we're playing in the kitchen this week, and why I'm listening to such crazy hardcore music, and why that helps my ADD focus on a plate.
Nice.
Why, and people with ADD or focus problems could understand that.
For sure.
Why we need that boom, 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 boom to focus. And then I also just talking and finding out more that a lot of my heroes or friends from the music industry have at one point or another worked in the food service industry or bartending or whatever. So just putting those all together, the family is food and music is life. Yes. And because in the kitchen, we say, if I say something like, oh, I need 2 more quarts of tomato sauce, where they're like, yes, chef. Yes. We say a lot of yes. I say yes if I think they didn't hear me, and they say yes. So there's a lot of that, and so it kind of played into the family aspect. It's and food and music being in there. I was going to call it the punk rock chef or whatever, but there's already somebody with that account. And I was super bummed, but so it's the Punk Chef podcast. But yeah, I've been doing it I do it when I can, basically. I do it when I can, because I'm a very busy chef. But we have a food truck, and we're always playing punk rock and, Propaganda and Good Rants and stuff. They're always being played in the kitchen, especially when we're doing our vegan menus.
If people came to San Diego, where would they be able to find you? Is there a place where you would recommend finding your truck and things like that to, say to people who can support you?
They probably find me at a local brewery or taco shop, to be honest, but we do a ton of weddings and special events, like, or music festivals or anything like that with the food truck. Well, we travel to different weddings and venues and do stuff all over San Diego County and Palm Springs and stuff. But like, I just say, hit me up on Instagram and DM me and come into the kitchen. I'll feed you. And we'll listen to some music. I promise you promise me,
I hope that anybody who's near San Diego or traveling to San Diego will consider doing that. So the episodes that connect directly to this show are your episodes that you did with Ryan Onan and also JP Peters, who produced a couple Propaganda records and was on our episode for Negretto. One of my all-time favorite interviews we've done for this show was with JP for that show.
Love it.
So you have a couple of direct connections tying this podcast to your podcast. So anybody out there listening who's like, hey, I've never heard the Family Cast before, the Ryan Onan and the JP Peters episodes are direct links to where you can jump from this podcast to your podcast very seamlessly and get some familiar voices. So that's what I would recommend. If you've never heard Josh's show, The Family Cast, check out the Ryan Onan and the JP Peters episodes, because that's your first direct link. Josh, drop some social media account names that people can find you at.
Cool. Yeah. If you use a program called Instagram, I'm on there at The Family Cast. And in there's a bio with links to everything that I do, like Patreon or even cooking demos that I've done with other musicians or hot sauce companies or anything like that. And then I have my own personal Instagram page, Josh Kemble, and there's a bunch of other links on there too, because I do go on Twitter and stuff, but it's more to like talk to other podcasters and musicians. I'm not too crazy on there, but mostly baseball stuff. And then I have a record collection too. So I do a lot of trading and swapping. One of the pop-ups that I do is I do tacos and records pop-up at my kitchen. So
nice.
A lot of vinyl collection stuff, but pretty active on Discogs and the Instagram mostly. And then there's links to everything in there. And also another fun thing on the Family Cast is when I do the kitchen pairing playlists, I'll like take a song and pair it with food or beverage. And so we have a couple of those on there. And of course, there's some Propaganda on there too. So
love it.
That's be a good thing to check out.
Well, Josh Kemble, Dogwood, the Family Cast. It's been a real pleasure having you here. And I thank you for your time and your energy and your stories, and, you know, just being very honest with how your life story connects to so many of these songs. There is a through line subplot in this episode that we have just done, where your history within like religious practice popped up in every single one. And so that was a really cool observation for me, but I'm just super grateful to you for your time and your energy today. Appreciate it, man.
Of course, you deserve it. I love this podcast in particular also, because not only do I like the band, but you bring on people that enlighten me. I would say one of my favorite episodes was Ergo Sum Papa, or Ergo Fum Papa, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think that I learned a lot from that, just because I love that kind of imagery and stuff like that. But for me, I think this podcast provides a lot. It can calm me down. And they're long too, so I can listen to them like on a couple of journeys.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that about the show. So stoked to be on.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah.